Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. So, reminding that we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. If you have questions, you can send them. It comes directly to me. Okay, let's make some silence first. Abstract from everything. Nothing to hold on to. Just images, worthless images. Silence is all that is. Okay, so let's see. Let's go for questions. So I'm going to answer your questions now. Dear Sriman, could you please speak about compassion? I think it's the word here. Compassion in the practice and the practice of compassion. Thank you very much. Okay. So this compassion, it is a tricky subject. It doesn't seem to be, but it is. You see, compassion is something that has a life of its own. It overflows, it floods from within. So when compassion is there, it is a burst from within that can be extended to others or towards yourself, doesn't matter. But there's this practice of compassion as a means to unleash this inner flow. And that is just a practice, it's not really compassion. But in the context here, the practice of compassion and the compassion in the practice. So sometimes this compassion is in the practice is about knowing uh, how far you should go. Tricky subject. You see, because your question for you particularly, uh, this knowing when not be pushing too much, this is very important. For the majority, it's not the same thing because it is difficult for the majority to push too much. So for you, compassion in the practice means to know when you are pushing too much, to have sensitivity towards yourself. And for the biggest majority, compassion means exactly the opposite, because for those who are very sensitive and not exactly weak, but they have more difficulty in doing effort and all of this. So this effortless teachings are very good. They suit very well. They don't take far, of course, and they see as things become difficult, they want to stop and stop doing what they're doing, which is bringing that suffering, which they think it's bringing that suffering, but suffering is there, it's just emerging. Uh, and they want to stop it. And by stopping it, they think it is compassion, but it isn't. It is just um, maintenance of their own illusion. Like for those that are more or less like you, that have these characteristics, for you, uh, pushing too much can be a way of maintaining your world also, because it's one part is about freedom, the other part is about being too strict, too hard on yourself, and all that, and like this. Like you said to me previously, you can see when I described seekers of truth, you could see these two sides on the question on yourself, but they don't come like at the same time. It goes so there's a period where you intensify and there's a period that you stop completely, and they alternate. So for the majority, this compassion is in the practice. It means for you to allow yourself to go beyond what you think is your limit. It's like you have an accident, for example, and something gets stuck in your leg. And if you're trying to take it off, it will hurt. So if it's hurt, I have to be compassionate towards myself. I will stop and leave it there. But if you leave it there, it will rot in your leg and eventually the body dies. So sometimes this, what seems to be compassion, it's not compassion. So if this happens, it has to be taken out. So in the same sense, for the majority of those who will be eventually listening to this, so for the majority, compassion, it's about allowing yourself to go beyond what you think is your limit. Those who have difficulties with efforts and working hard and all of this is their line interpretation of compassion. For you, when you are pushing the lines of compassion, the boundaries of compassion, is to understand how is this, if it is being too much or not, what is the measure of this? And some signals will be there in your body and etc. But then, if you confuse this in those times that you completely stop, then confusion will be there. So this practice of compassion, the compassion in the practice, uh, you have to understand what challenges by listening to that satsang that I've given. I think it was the previous one where I've spoken about types of seekers. So for each seeker, this compassion is in the practice is different. The one who is uh, moved by power, he has to create sensitivity, because he goes and it's like a car moving and going through everybody that is in the way. I don't remember the word for that, and he's not feeling. It's just creating wounds and not growing. For the other one who is moved by pleasure, this one needs to learn how to go beyond what he thinks is its own limitations. So the practice of compassion, not the practice of compassion, this is complicated. The compassion in the practice, it's different for these different seekers. The practice of compassion, it is important, yes, but it can become a distraction also. And I'm interpreting this practice of compassion as a spiritual practice, outer practice in a sense. It is good. Some people do work as social services and things like this. It is good, but it can be a distraction. It can be a distraction. So the most safe route, whatever that means, is intensifying your practices and wait for guidance, because those directions eventually they will come, but it is complicated. It is complicated. For those who are very natural in doing this external work, usually it's because the inner work is more complicated, and they will get the signs, they create the signs so that they move outwards into this outward work. But there's a measure. This outward work should never disturb this inner work. And for safety reasons, whatever that means, it cannot disturb meditation. So if it is there, it cannot at least maintain. Meditation should be increasing until guidance is there. But if this outer work, if it comes as a need, then the measure to see if this is coming from the right place, it should not be disturbing your meditation practices, and they must continue, and this work must be helping, in a sense, this meditation practice. But it's complicated because this is running all the time. So until there is guidance there, it is best to focus in your meditation in the best of your ability and intensifying it. This is the best. And this practice of compassion, or the compassion in the practice, it is according to your to the main characteristics. If you're that kind of seeker that does whatever it takes and doesn't matter what, complicated again, because there are these seekers that they think they can do whatever is needed, but when intensity comes, they have big surprises. So let's forget about these terms of compassion. Just work diligently until guidance arises. It is the best. Then guidance will tell you, oh, this is too much, this is not enough. Okay. Dear Shima, during my retreat, thoughts regarding future arrangements arose. First, I felt it is disturbing silence I was slowly gaining. But then I gave importance to it, and it started to look reasonable. But to accomplish it, I would have to leave retreat. I have moments of maybe clarity, distance, but also strong anxieties. Feelings that I'm selfish, coward, lazy, guilty to accomplish that. It regards new housing, better for the family, as well as meditation. But I had some insights or maybe inner instructions. It is not needed yet in this form, so I stick to that. But in the anxiety moments, I'm afraid that I'm just deluding myself and putting it away in sake of not doing anything and staying where I am, because honestly, the retreat place is pleasant. As is, maybe it's is this a bad tendency too? No, not question mark. This is my bad tendency too. Well, there may be times where these things happen. You have an inner instruction, but you don't understand where is it coming from, really. So sometimes it doesn't seem reasonable, then it becomes reasonable, but still you don't know, because you're trapped in this has advantages and this has advantages and the other one also. And you can continue to be in this, and this is noise in the practice. Stay, go, do, not doing. And this is noise that it is getting created. But this is a reasonable question to know. So is it important for me to live here because it would be better for family and meditation? That's the previous subject here. Family in a way also, because if they are there, well, if they are creating distress to you, to your meditation, then it's shooting yourself in the foot. So if they become more satisfied, whatever that means, but don't take this as a general instruction, because it isn't. Fall down, only Instagram is live. So those who are in Instagram, please wait a little bit. We will try to come back so that everyone can participate. Just a few minutes longer, please. Okay, so we're back. So this started, oh, you're writing something, okay, it will be good. But this starting to look reasonable. This is not the thing. You have to let it, you have to let these inner impressions or indications to gain more strength, and not by feeding it mentally. Because if you go with this mentally, you just create confusion and noise, and eventually, well, whatever has to happen happens, but then it gets misused. Hmm? So when you're into this kind of thing, and you don't know if this inner direction is for a good reason or for a bad reason, if it is about your worldly needs or about your spiritual needs, then don't go through it. Don't analyze this, don't see the different aspects of it. Just maintain silence and see if this indication becomes stronger to the point that it doesn't give any rest. It is a way to acknowledge. And there is a lot of ways that your mind can trick you. It is a fact. But if you're really trying to intensify, first, this changing place, it is something that will consume you time. So, in a way, it will weaken your meditation. But as you get established, and if you do this change, it has to pay back the time. So, if you cannot see this in the beginning before you make the changes, uh, okay, after the morning meditation, full of resistance, the detachment is there today. Silence, clarity. So, and this detachment is about the idea of moving. What is it? Can you complement there, please? And this, I have moments of maybe clarity, distance, but also strong anxieties, feelings that I'm selfish, coward, lazy, guilty to accomplish that. This is an inner struggle that, in a sense, it is there, and things will be coming because this is like putting the trash can outside. So, this inner struggle, the more you get clarity and silence, the more rubbish will arise from within to dissolve. And as it is arising, you will live it. These thoughts will arise, they will be there. And if you give them attention, they will continue their work and they will increase your stock of negativity. If you don't give them attention, they dissolve a little bit more, your stock becomes less, and it will become easier. The silence will increase. As the silence increases, more inner garbage can arise and detach. The more it detaches, the more silence it is possible. The more silence is there, the more noise will arise, etc., until silence is complete. But as an instruction comes, fight begins. And mentally, you can see, oh, this is better, this has advantages, this has disadvantages, but this is not good. So, if you're not sure, this instruction has to remain and remain. It has to stand the test of time. At least it has to maintain there at least for 2 weeks, 4 weeks. It has to be steady to remain there. If this is like coming and going, it's better to remain still. So the better for you is to wait and see if it maintains. You don't have to be involved with that. You know already what's in perspective, so don't involve with that and see if that instruction maintains, continues, grows inside you. Don't dwell on it. Don't dwell mentally on it. Just put it aside, continue your practices and see if this is maintaining and increasing there without you thinking about it and evaluating and all of these things. Maintain silence. Oh, I will answer your questions now. I'm going back here. I said I would do this. I'm going back here to the quotes. Let's see if I can find this. Okay. So these teachings that were sent to me, and at that time I made the commentaries based on the that these were your interpretations. Now I'm going to read to observe it again, knowing that it is you have taken word by word. It is a quoting. These are quotes. So in the awareness, watching awareness method, no external teacher is needed. All that is required in the awareness, watching awareness method, it has one has the precise practice instructions and that one follows them by practicing. At first, the written instructions are the teacher, then the practice is the teacher. The written instructions are the teacher only for the time it takes you to read them or listen to them, if you decide to record them. Therefore, the teacher is the awareness, watching awareness practice. The awareness, watching awareness practice is the true, really enduring teacher. You'll never need to physically see a teacher on this direct path. Physically seeing a teacher will draw your attention outwards and will be counterproductive. So I've read this, now I will come back to this after. There is only one guru, that is the infinite self-awareness within. True. In the dream, humans call the working state, or in the dream, humans call the dream state. There may be appearance of a sage who appears to have a body. True. But these... I'm not sure if this is all for them, but okay. As Sri Ramana Maharshi and Sri Nisargadatta have pointed out, such appearance of a body is only an illusion, a dream, just as the world and the universe is only an illusion and a dream. So it is part of the dream. It is like your body is an illusion. The body of the master is an illusion. Yes, that is true. So if it is illusion watching illusion, we can also say that is truth watching truth. Both stand. However, as Srinagarath has pointed out, the sage in the dream, the sage is a dream that can wake you up, and it is the teachings of the sage that are important and not the person of the guru. Yes, when one talks about the type of sage that appears to have or did appear to have a body, then you can say that Sri Raman and etc. are my teachers. However, they are all one, and that one does not have a body. It is the self-awareness within. Yes, this is all true, but as long as you think you have a body, then this body interaction is kind of inevitable, depending on where you stand. To physically go to see, I read this already. And I've made comments about this already, but eventually what I have to say about these teachings, this is tailor-made teachings. It is tailor-made for the type of seeker, probably that you were before and still are a little bit, but the majority of seekers of this moment. You see, this is tailor-made. This is good for buying books and to see satsangs that appear to be there not to give anything, but a master that knows what is this guiding seekers would not put these words like this, would not arrange them like this. This is completely misleading. But they are good for selling books because, well, the kind of seeker that it is today, selfish to the core, completely closed. The only sensitivity that he has is towards his own needs. Has very difficulties in the surrendering, the humility, and all these things. This is tailor-made. Tailor-made. So these teachings, they are full of truths here, but then this is where it comes misleading. And they are full of truth, and there's no compromise for the one who is writing this. So are these words meant to help or not? Is there a service in these words or not? Confusing, but misleading when it says that at first the teaching, the written instructions are the teacher. He has no idea what he's talking about, because anyone that picks up a book, a sentence, only a small sentence, they take a different meaning from it. And by far, dealing with seekers, anyone, any master that deals with seekers understands clearly, if it doesn't have anything else, it understands clearly that everybody is interpreting things in a different way, and sometimes is really off, completely off the reservation. Nothing to do with what's being said. So how can this, so the book is the teacher, and the book is not an external thing. There isn't there a body reading a book or tuning with the writer. So this is completely misleading. It is full of truths. This is what makes it appealing. And it puts the good side, it tells you to the seeker, you don't have to surrender to anyone, because you just can maintain yourself like this and go directly to the source because you are very important. To the mature seeker, these truths help. They are very good. But this is 0.0001%. For the maturity, they just pick up this and they just waste time. But they preserve their ego, their self-importance, and all of this. They preserve their most important obstacles. So I have no hesitation, if these are quotations from the book in itself, that this is completely misleading. And it makes you waste precious time. If the intense desire for freedom is awakened, all that will meet spiritual... Yes, this is true. Everything is true. But only not the way that you are going to interpret. And it's like picking the best parts of the teachings, and adapting it to the modern profile. I don't know if this teacher gives satsangs or receives students or whatever. I have no idea. I remember some that have the same language and they continue to give lectures and all of this. I don't know if it is the case. Like I said previously, I don't know who it is, and I'm not going to look for also. No point. But if these are quotations from a book, this is completely misleading. And maybe I'm talking like most of you are in context. This is a mistake. Maybe I should be reading this. So I'll read a little bit more. There is no need to go in here and there to see some supposed sage or guru or teacher. Their teachings can be found in books. Firstly, their teachings, the majority, are not found in books because it is students, disciples that write the most of them. So those who write it directly, there are not so many, maybe more these times, but those they are quoting here, I don't know all of them, but I guess the majority of them didn't write their teachings. They were written by someone else. And it's worth what it's worth. It is someone else's interpretation of what is being said. And each teaching directed to a different seeker has a different meaning, a different range, and it can be the same one. So what to say to go? But so let's see. This is where it gets interesting. So there's no needing because all their teachings can be found in books. So this talks about uh, older masters, dead ones that had a body previously. So you go to the teaching of the dead one. Why? Are you afraid of a living physical body? No, because the best ones have died. So only the authors of these books remain that are telling you that only these old ones, new ones, no, because new ones can become competition. So, but these are teachings. So these masters had a body, made those books, and now you just look at the books, and so in their time, that seekers, most of them didn't even know how to read. What would be of them? And probably they shouldn't go to these masters because they had a body. They have to wait for them to write the books, for them to pick up and read them in their mental state, or find someone to read them. This is complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. But it's good for those who want to preserve their egos and la la la. And I understand that there has been, in these few decades, a lot of confusions with masters and disciples, but it is for the same reason. Now you're looking, oh, but is this master, is this master good or bad? Is he trying to take advantage? Nobody tries to take advantage. Everybody tries to take advantage of everybody. If it is a master, you will not understand it. If it isn't, well, it is a secret still. And this comes to the same level, you see? Everybody that comes with questions, or they are trying to get something out of it. Seekers are trying to take advantage. And if they go to another seeker that says that he is a master, well, if he is not a master and says that he is there giving satsang something, is wanting something also out of you. But you're not innocent also. And if you want the easy path and all of these things, then my friend, well, if you're not going through the if you're not honest in yourself, what should you think you will find? Because this is only for the seeker of truth. And if you're not really yet one, then work yourself to become one. This is the path. This is the secure path. It is like this. So these teachings came because of this, but it is the same. It is the same. This is hoarding attention with chosen, specifically chosen words. So only the masters from the past are real. Now there are no more masters. Only those. Now what prevails and keep groups there is those who are saying you don't need a master, you don't need anything. But they are there saying, if this is true, so why are they saying? They shouldn't be saying that. They shouldn't be even there. Hmm? And if someone knocked on the door, they should say, buy the book. Hmm? Don't need to come here, just buy the book. So this is nonsense. If the intense desire freedom is awakened, all that you need will be brought to you. Yes, it is true. It is true. Lots of truths, lots of truths mixing with distortions. If there is any need for Sri Ramana Maharshi, Sri Murunagara, to come to you, they will come to you. If a master has to come, he will come. Yes, it is true. But at his own choice. You're not that special. That divine has to manifest in the form of Sri Ramana Maharshi because, it doesn't. But sometimes it happens. But even today, at this point, this is so lost, but so lost, that these visions are there more intensely and it doesn't make a difference. And this is not because you're important. This is because you're so lost that these blessings are coming to see if there's any way of helping you. But why should these masters come? And again, are you sure they aren't here already? They haven't taken another body. Because isn't it truth manifesting? So, in truth, they only had the power to manifest in the past. Nonsense. So the fact that they are no longer in the body does not matter. They were never in the body in reality. And so, but the masters, the living masters of now, they have a body. So these ones, when they had a body, they didn't in reality. But the ones of the present, they have a body, but they have a body. So what is it? How is it? However, there is usually no need for any of such appearance. There is no need if there isn't a need. There are tons of different seekers with different needs and with completely different needs from A to Z. There would be piles and piles of books just describing the difference in seekers, and each one has a different need. And yes, if they had the resilience enough, if they had the intense desire enough, everything would come to them. But how do you know that it's not coming? And what does it mean everything comes to you? There's a lot of childish ideas into this. A lot. And most of these appearances that come and the teachings coming in these different forms, sometimes opposite to each other, it's because of the needs of each individual seeker. And this is how grace manifests. So these ideas, they are very suitable for the modern seeker, a certain specific profile that is more connected now to these Advaitic movements and all of this. And I have to say to all of you, the majority of you are so distant from any spirituality, but so distant that the worldly person is more close to the divine than these seekers these days. Strong statement. Not so much. It isn't not so much. Because if they had any idea of spirituality, they could move more quickly. But these teachings have made so much damage, but so much damage in crystallizing these characters, like you like to talk about the ego, so much crystallization that it's become difficult. Even it is impossible, almost impossible for these seekers to touch any life. And you just go through any the Advaitic groups. For example, I had the displeasure of seeing some, and it's completely, it's a joke. Majority, it's a joke. So the teachings are there, they can be practiced, the inner teacher can be discovered, the inner teacher is infinite awareness, and it has no form, no body. This is true also. A lot of truths mixed with those specific directions that kill everything. So about these teachings, uh, well, this is my assessment from what is written here, because this is spoken to a wide, uh, to all kinds of seekers, and is taken as the direct path, and all of this, and or there's a lot of naiveness here from the part of the writer, um, or it is completely misleading. But this, in the few decades, this kind of writings is the one that sells books, is the one that makes people go to satsangs and all of this. This kind of writings. Yes, you can become spiritual, you can get enlightenment and all of them like this, and remain as you are. So this is the assessment. Okay. Okay, thank you for your answers. Your experiment playing my audio worked pretty well. Good, thank you for the feedback. Uh, Previously, I thought that this audio, playing all your questions in audio would not work, would make some distortions, but it seems it worked really, really good. I was thinking of having a private meeting on video call, WhatsApp, since Brazil is very far. Yes, it can be or it cannot. It's not as far as India, but it is far also. But we will get there. We will get there. What are my motivation? Not to build the trust, to see if I receive guidance from you could be possible. Well, you see that your motivation is to receive guidance and not to build the trust. But this building trust is there, it is working constantly. You're engaged into this, you have been working, and it has to be like this also. But like I said previously, if you're not seeing this now, you will see it because you have shown that with the time you have had, you have worked, and clarity is there in a sense. So the more you work, the more clarity will come, and then you'll be able to see these things. So no problem in not seeing it now. I see the need to surrender is from me, even if I see there is some resistance in seeing that. Yes, and I don't really have questions now. I see that I just need to keep on my intensifying my practice. I feel that your guidance could help me go faster. And this is part of the process of, you have said previously that you can surrender a little, but there is a part that is difficult, and you wanted to know if that would be enough. When you get to the point that you think that what you're surrendering is enough, and you don't see these resistances, you see that, okay, I surrender, then you are ready to go to the next level. And still resistance there, they will be there. So if you're seeing the resistances now, it means they are much bigger than you think. So when you arrive to a point that it is acceptable in your view, that your surrendering is very, very big compared to what you see as a resistance, then it is close. Until then, working up this resistance is part of the work, and this is preparation. And understand that this is transforming within. So these outer tools, sometimes they seem more interesting, but it is the inner transformation that that is the most important part. You asked me to reflect on why I was giving satsang, being a seeker of truth and without guidance. Well, I felt guided by teachings of the sages, and even still being a seeker of truth, I had the experience of my real nature and had some level of silence, and I had the call to share it to others, to help them to recognize their real nature as well. But if I look more deeply, well, this was a distraction to keep my world going on. Yes. I like to be tested, to let what can be broken break, so only what real remains. Yes, but this have to be more ready for this. And you'll get there. And if you look even more deeply, you will go beyond this distraction. You will touch the layers of self-importance, of sadness that is there, and this is something which is, maybe I'm speaking too much, but okay. This is something which is connected also, that has attached itself to the quest. This personal importance, this sadness about yourself, lower self-esteem that is camouflaged with a lot of things. Your identity is protected, so no problem. And you will see, and unless you are touching this sadness, you are not gone deep enough in that seeing. But imagine that you will stop doing that. You will stop giving your satsangs. What will happen? Try to see it this way. If you were deprived of that, I don't know if you're giving satsang still or not, but if you were deprived of it, what would happen? This is interesting. But understand that beneath all of that, there is a lot of sadness, that as these things continue, it doesn't allow it to come out. And if it doesn't allow it to come out, then you'll continue to be pushed by the same mechanisms. It is like this. And these kind of teachings, they are very abundant today. So if you want to be how do you say this, a successful master, well, it is easy to choose language. And it is a language like this one, which is here, that it doesn't pinch anyone's egos. Everybody gets a free flow entering, coming closer to these kinds of teachings, and they just can feed through them in their own egotistical quests. And nothing is left behind. If you don't, to cross in the real path, to give one step forward, that means that something has to be left behind. Something has to be left behind, or else you're not moving forward. And these are just words, this moving forward, left behind, just words. But for this to happen, for you to grow spiritually, something worldly, mundane has to be left behind. So these teachings that are tailor-made, so that you can go through it without leaving nothing behind, or very little, is not pinching, well, it's not a thing yet. Not a thing yet. So there's someone asking here how to see things from a positive side. Well, positive, negative. This question, if you can make a better context out of it, it will help. But this, how to see things in a positive side, usually for spiritual purposes, and negative, positive, they are both unimportant. Silence is what is most important. Because this need to see things in a positive side may be a way to try to counter negativity, but they are there feeding each other, The seeker of truth abides in silence, not in positivity, not in negativity. It doesn't matter what is arising. He clings to silence. He abstracts from both. Okay? So eventually these teachings, especially for the West, for Westerners, they are very good, very appreciated, but because they want to go already to college, then they'll want to go through kindergarten. But if they went through kindergarten, they already finished college a long time ago. But going directly to college, no kindergarten, no first, second grade, and so on, then they just flunk in college. They cannot finish it because they don't even know how to read. And they spend years and years and years longer than they would if they go through the beginning. It is like this. Everyone has to move from where they stand. And what happens is you cling on to this, and you will have to do the same work to develop the same things, only in a more difficult way. It will become more difficult. If it is sincere, so if these teachings would have been an interpretation, your interpretation, it would be something. As it isn't, it is quotation, then it is something else. And this is abundant these days. So everybody's, even these Advaitic groups, full of postings of Ramana Maharshi, everybody's quoting Ramana Maharshi and all these masters, dead ones. They don't want anything to do with the living ones, only with the dead, because the dead don't pinch their egos. The living are a little bit, or they are phony, like you say, or you cannot sit in front of them because your ego doesn't fit in that room. It is like this. And these teachings, they are abundant. And all these seekers that I'm talking about, it's not they are bad or they are good. They have their own difficulties, obstacles. Potential is there, certainly. But with these kinds of information, this feeds the part of the seeker of well-being and keeps them trapped there. And they have less chances of going through their divine romance. Okay, so Instagram is finishing here. So the teachings that fit the, the level of understanding that you have now. And by teachings, I mean those who give you some sort of a practice. And I will stop also with this some sort of the practice, because for the majority, meditation is the only thing, not the only thing, but okay. But meditation for the majority is that thing that can start your start the life of your process, to make it real. The rest is much more complicated. So in the kind of life that most seekers have, and meditation is that which is more helpful. So what kind of a practice you will get in the beginning, that is good. It will be according to your level of understanding. Then you have to practice intensely, and that will open up your own route, your own path. Other way, it will be difficult for you for not being trapped in your world as it is. So these teachings, these and other kinds of teachings similar, not just Advaitic ones, they are being interpreted and tailor-made, written purposely in the same philosophy of receiving seekers with a lot of caring and all of this, because this is expected. This is expected. It keeps keeps the show on the road. Keeps the show on the road. Okay, for today it is enough. Tuesday we'll be back. This weekend there won't be satsang. Tuesday we'll be back. Like I said, if there's a need for more satsangs, we are available here. If there's no need, we'll decrease it. Okay? So intensify your practices, make your process alive, make it real. This is the safe path. And whatever this life in your process is bringing to you, this has to be embraced. But it is a very tricky, it is complicated, because at the same time that you're trying to move and to grow, you're trying to cling on and maintaining your world. So this is a fight with yourself eventually. Okay, so until Tuesday, be well.